broadly, today, the sectors which spoke, in a sense, we had all the associations come, but pharma, textiles, chemicals, electronics and IT hardware, solar, auto, surgical equipments, paints, fertilizers, chemicals, I repeat, telecom, metals, copper, glass, mobile manufacturing, edible oil, health, tourism, shipping and marine food products. Some of them had issues related to export, some had related to raw material import, and some others had related issues. The government was represented by secretary-level officers from commerce, heavy industry, the DGFT was here, and representatives of pharma, shipping, MSME, telecom, and the Department of Public Enterprises were all present. We've heard all of them, and the way in which we want to go about taking this forward is tomorrow there's a cabinet meeting in the morning, so I won't be able to be away from it. In the afternoon, each of the secretaries in the ministry have taken it upon themselves to collate the issues, and each one will be contacting other secretaries from various other ministries who come into the picture of all that was heard today. And with the collated issues, talking to those respective secretaries, we expect to hold a meeting at the secretary level from the various departments concerned tomorrow in the afternoon. We've heard it all. They were present here, but still, this evening, with each of the secretaries taking a responsibility on himself, would be talking to their respective assigned secretaries, so that everything is not on one hand. At the same time, each one can talk with a set of people who their responsibility they've taken up now. The principal economic advisor is also being part of this whole scheme of things. So all concerned departments would be contacted by finance ministries, different secretaries, and the principal economic advisor. The issues raised will be informed to them, and then they would apply their mind and come back tomorrow afternoon so that we talk it out among ourselves about the possible solutions that we can handle, post which hopefully we will also have a discussion with the PMO, and with speedily some response will be announced at the earliest. So this is the way we planned. This is one of those meetings in which pointed, clear-cut, putting the finger on the pulse of where the problem lies has happened. I would think I can speak for the ministry and say it was one of the very well-prepared, well-thought-out, well-articulated meetings. So the point of action, I think, is fairly clear for all of us, although it encompasses several departments and ministries, and we shall take it forward in that sort of way. Finance Secretary can add more. We can actually take questions, and in the process all of us will answer.
Please raise your Tim C.
Ma'am, you highlighted some of the major sectors which were part of today's meeting. My question is pertaining to the industry issues that were raised today, especially when it comes to the manufacturing and pharma sector. What are their issues that they highlighted, and what could be a possible solution to the problem raised by the manufacturing sector and the pharma sector, because there's a huge issue of India's dependence on Chinese APIs.
Well, the issues, see, at this stage, I don't want to get into too much of a detail, but broadly, for instance, manufacturing sector who depends on raw material to come from China are worried that some of them have been receiving their stocks But because the necessary paperwork is not coming from China, their stocks are being held here in the ports. The request was, can customs take a self-declaration or some kind of a, statement from them and release the stocks? That could be one of the things which came up for a manufacturing company. There was also this question of, many others saying, can we look at other sources of, sourcing of raw materials, on which the industry, together with the CII and FICCI and so on, will be talking with the concerned ministries. So such specific problems of industries have come. Also, manufacturing industries, particularly some MSMEs, also said, look, if the cycle of receiving the goods, manufacturing and sending it out is getting affected because of delayed or staggered raw material supply, banks will also have to understand that our payment receipts will be taking their own time. So to that extent, they wanted flexibility from the banks also. So everything got linked with raw material supply, congestion at the ports. Today the goods are coming, but papers are not there. It might be that within the few months which is going to come after the virus effect diminishes or goes away, there could be a rush of all the materials coming to our ports which have been delayed in the last few months. And therefore industry also wanted us to be alert to the fact that if today it is getting staggered, sooner there will be a time when all of them will come almost all at the same time. Our ports should be in a position to take that congestion. So the question of a manufacturing sector industry, talking about it, ranged from today's shortage or today's arrival at the ports and a future situation where there could be a glut. In the sense, all of them coming at the same time. Not really glut, but congestion. So issues varied in so many different ways, therefore. The same thing. That's a, yeah.
Meghna.
Ma'am, after today's discussion, what was the result that which sectors could most face the brunt of the situation, and did they also bring up the risk of price rise in case of such?
See, pharma, chemicals, solar equipments were very vocal in saying there are disruptions. In the sense, today when where the raw materials have to come, there is a delay. Or the products come but the papers don't come. So the disruption is felt increasingly by these three industries, like chemicals for paint industry, chemical for tire manufacturers. All these did find a voice today. So it's almost speaking about certain HSN codes within an industry, saying those products are even more, sharply affected. Also, saying this, the eagerness was also to say, can this be used as a, guise to improve capacity building in India? Many of them said, look, the capacity to manufacture this item exists in India. Because of cost competitiveness, probably we lost out. Today, can this be used as an opportunity to revive those manufacturing so that we don't have this kind of a dependence on one source? Even that came up. There wasn't a worry about price rise from anybody as yet. At least what I heard today was concern about distortion in supply of materials. Today, it's coming lean. Sooner there could be a congestion. Those kind of worries were expressed, but not price worries.
Siddharth.
Ma'am, two questions. One is on there are fears that some of the medicines will not be available because there is disruption in the supply of basic chemicals. Now, what is being done to address that fear and that concern and to ensure that there is adequate supply of commonly used medicines? And second question is, ma'am, is there an assessment on, because of disruptions, how much would be the impact on the manufacturing sector in terms of economic activity?
For your first question about what is being done about addressing the possible shortage in life-saving drugs, and therefore that's a question which I can answer only after a few days, because today is the first meeting. We've heard them. Tomorrow, I've told you clearly, I'll meet up with the secretaries of the concerned departments. who will be briefed by our respective secretaries about their sector-related inputs, and post which we will work out something with which we can come up. So that question gets answered after a few days, but I can't answer it today. However, the concern is that particularly because of some essential raw materials will have to be obtained, we'll have to act speedily. So that's where it is for today. But few days afterwards, I can come up with an answer to your questions.
Ruchi.
Ma'am, in your discussion with the industry leaders, have they also indicated what is the situation looking like as far as their own current inventories of raw material is concerned? Which are the industries that are the most prone at this point of time, apart from, of course, the pharma sector that everybody's been talking about?
Immediate, like today, there is just no issue of raw materials. All of them do have it, is what I understand. Because that wasn't the way in which anyone asked them a question, nor did they say. And many of them also have said the shipping lines are still arriving. So it's not as if from yesterday the shortages have started. They also very clearly said, no, lines are still coming, so the products may, the raw material or requirements are all going to be coming also for the next, say, week or so, I suppose. So the stocking of raw materials is not really being projected as there is a shortage now itself, there is a problem tomorrow. That's not how it was presented. They still, many of them did say the lines, shipping lines are still active. So they are in the high seas. Probably they'll reach us in the next few days. So I see, from what I've heard, I see a situation where it's not being talked about crisis today in the sense of no raw material. Not crisis tomorrow in the sense shipping lines have stopped. No. Both the cases, both are active. But it's more a question of, if this continues, what will happen? So, that's a...
Also perhaps going to impact our own Make in India program as well?
It's too early for me to talk about it at all, because what I've heard today is just make sure that in the next few weeks we are all prepared for any developing situations and so on. No one has told us about serious crisis and therefore you're going to have a shortage in Make in India or any of that kind.
Arup.
Ma'am, while of course over the coming few days there will be, you will sit and discuss the solutions, but today based on your discussions, what are the sectors where you are seeing, based on the feedback you got from the sectors, what are the sectors where you have seen a serious supply gap already taking place, and as a result of which some downturn in economic activity you've already started seeing in which of the sectors, ma'am?
I've read out the sectors who came to speak. And when I answered Ruchi, I also very clearly said no one sector has told me anything differently than what I've told her. So it will be speculative on my part if I say, no, which are the sectors? May not be possible for me to answer that now.
Manoj.
Ma'am, you said you plan to take measures to address the industry's concern in a speedy manner after discussions with more secretaries and Prime Minister's office. So we understand that industry has raised the issue that there are like nearly $28 billion worth of imports of ingredients coming to India from China, and they have asked for cut in import duties specifically where the alternative is available from, say, USA, Vietnam or some other countries, and some more incentives to for this. Are you open to consider this demand?
Well, it depends on the respective departments and their secretaries also to come and speak to us. So it's not just us deciding. We are only facilitating the process. We are making every department participate. They were present here. They've gone back. We are also collating the information and telling them. And tomorrow I have already told you that I'll be sitting and talking with those secretaries, take their inputs. Inputs more from the point of view of also, we've heard this, we've come up with this answer to the questions which have been raised. So post that, we'll have to take a call on where we want to intervene.